It has never been harder to buy a used car at a good price. Used cars that used to cost $3,000 now cost close to $8,000. And now cars that are closer to $5,000 are cars with rebuilt titles, high mileage, and they're just falling apart. Because of this change in the used car market, I've had to really shift what types of cars, what prices I'm willing to buy, and what I'm specifically looking for whenever I'm adding cars to my Turo fleet. And so in this video, I want to talk about what cars I used to buy versus which cars I'm currently buying today. I also want to break down what specifically I look for in a new Turo car, and I'm going to be breaking down my thought process behind this mindset shift. So let's get started. 2 years ago, I made a video talking about how a $3,300 Toyota Yaris made me over $15,000 on the Turo platform. This was back in the good old days, the days where I could buy a $3,000 to $4,000 car listed out on the Turo platform and make a ton of money doing it. This is where I specifically concentrated buying older, higher mileage vehicles that were maintained well and would be a really affordable solution for Turo renters. These were higher mileage, older vehicles that were very mechanically sound, and they made perfect Turo cars. And though I do still own two of these cars today, my 2007 Ford Focus and my 2007 Toyota Yaris, unfortunately, the days of buying really solid cars for well under $5,000, those days are over. Now, if I could still buy Turo eligible vehicles today for $3,300, I absolutely would. In fact, if I saw a $3,300 Toyota Yaris tomorrow, I would buy that in a heartbeat. I still think that there is a ton of demand for lower end, cheaper economy cars on Turo because people are always looking for an affordable car. In fact, my 2007 Focus and my 2007 Yaris are two of my most utilized vehicles in my 16 car fleet. But the problem is you simply can't find these cars. And whenever you do find them, they are no longer at the low-end economy price point of $3,000 to $4,000. Whenever I talk about buying cars for Turo, I oftentimes talk about the importance of buying below market value cars. And as we've seen cars go up in value over the last year, one of the segments that have increased the most are lower end economy cars. And these cars are simply no longer found below market value. The cars that I used to buy for a really great price are the same cars that have skyrocketed in price today. My 2007 Toyota Yaris that I bought for around $3,000 now can't be bought for less than $7,000. My 2007 red Ford Focus, which I bought for $2,300, can't be bought for less than $5,000. My 2009 Hyundai Accent, which I bought for $3,700, it was totaled earlier this year and I was paid out $8,500 for it. These cars that I used to be able to buy easily for a few grand are now being sold for 2 to 3 times that amount. And to be honest, it's just not worth it. And so because of this, I've drastically changed the cars that I'm buying for my fleet. I'm now buying newer, nicer, lower mileage vehicles that are also quite a bit more expensive. That's because these newer, lower mileage vehicles are closer to their true value than these lower end economy cars that I used to buy. These cars that I'm buying today, though they're more expensive than the cars I used to buy, they're at their true value, if not under market value. And at the end of the day, I'm not super concerned with how much I spend on a car. Instead, I'm more concerned with what I spend in relation to what that car is actually worth. And because of this mindset, I believe that the cars I'm buying today, though more expensive, are a much better investment. Because in today's market, I could either spend $5,000 on a 2010 Ford Focus that's high mileage, or instead I could spend an extra couple grand and get a newer, nicer, lower mileage vehicle like a 2015 Kia or a 2013 Hyundai. And so that's exactly what I've started doing. And if you follow my vlog channel, you've probably seen me buy a lot of these cars in the last year. So with this shift, I've really started targeting cars that are 2011 to 2015. Cars that have minimal exterior and interior damage, and cars that are lower mileage between 80 to 110,000 miles. I'm also typically looking to pay anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 for these vehicles. And I would say on average, it probably is around $7,500. With this new set of criteria, over the last few months, I've purchased a 2013 Mazda 3, a 2013 Hyundai Tucson, a 2015 Kia Rio, a 2013 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, as well as a 2011 Toyota Yaris. These cars are newer, nicer, and they're a much better value from the older cars that I could get for a few grand less. But let's actually take a look at Facebook Marketplace to view what I'm talking about firsthand. See, if we look at Facebook Marketplace and we look at the parameters of a car that's $4,000 to $5,000, 2010 or newer with 130,000 miles or less, which is what we need if we want to list a car out on Turo, you can see that there are a lot of cars that are definitely not in this price range. For example, a 2022 Kia K5, that $5,000 is without a doubt the down payment, and it isn't actually the cost of the car. So finding cars that are priced in this price range that aren't being advertised as just the down payment, that is a difficult difficult task in itself. But let's scroll through here and let's find a few cars that could potentially meet the criteria we're looking for. Now, the first actual car we see that we could potentially rent out is a 2010 Chevy Aveo for $4,500. It has 120,000 miles, and though this car on the surface looks like a really good car, the truth is Chevy Aveos are kind of trash, and this car isn't even worth $4,500. We look at this 2013 Hyundai Sonata, 89,000 miles, looks good on the surface until you realize it is a rebuilt title. Or we look at this 2011 Dodge Avenger, which on the surface looks good, but again, we look through the listing and we read the listing to find that it is actually a rebuilt title, even though it says clean title right here. The reality is that as you look through Facebook looking for cars that meet these pieces of criteria, which was an easy task a couple of years ago, you can just no longer find them. In fact, finding cars that are priced in this price range is very difficult in itself, but having them also meet the Turo criteria is even more difficult. And more often than not, the cars that do meet these pieces of criteria are probably cars that have reliability issues, maintenance issues, and aren't even worth buying. And whenever we look at newer cars that I'm currently looking to buy, so a car that's a 2011 or newer with 130,000 miles or less, priced for between $6,000 and $8,000, though they are still difficult to find, the quality of car that you get for this price point once you find it is significantly better. Like for example, this 2014 Kia Optima sedan, which has 111,000 miles being sold for $7,900. Alternatively, this 2012 Honda Civic, which has 121,000 miles being sold for $7,300. Or another route could be a 2012 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, which has 110,000 miles for $7,500. In fact, I recently bought one very similar to this a few months ago. Now, don't get me wrong, these cars are still very difficult to find. It's just really hard to find good cars at good prices that can be listed on the Turo platform. But whenever it comes to these cars that are priced for between $6,000 to $8,000, I believe the value is significantly better than those cars that are priced for $4,000 to $5,000. The reality is all cars have gone up a ton in price over the last year, but whenever you look at cars that used to be priced at between $2,000 and $3,000, these cars have disproportionately gone up in price compared to these cars that are now priced at $6,000 to $8,000. And whenever it comes to how I'm wanting to grow my own Turo fleet, I'm not interested in paying $5,000 for a car that I used to be able to buy for $2,300. Especially considering the fact that if I spend a little bit more, I can get a newer, nicer vehicle that will have a higher trip per day price. So with that being said, here are the cars that I'm currently adding to my Turo fleet, as well as some of the cars that I've added over the last few months. First off is Hyundais. I believe that Hyundais are one of the best bang for your buck car that you can get. Now, whenever you look at older Hyundais that are like 2008 to 2010, these cars do have some reliability issues. In fact, I've owned two of them in the past and both of them had problems. But if you look for newer Hyundais, 2011 or newer, these cars are typically much more safe. In fact, you can almost guarantee this if you target cars that have a specific engine warranty. You see, Hyundai has an engine warranty that's offered on a wide variety of their cars across a wide variety of years. And what this engine warranty does is that if your car qualifies, you can get a new engine replaced in your vehicle 100% free. If you're somebody who's wanting to buy a Hyundai in order to rent out that Hyundai on Turo, I would encourage you to get the VIN of that Hyundai, then call your local Hyundai dealership and ask if that engine is covered under warranty. And if the answer to that question is yes, then I think that's a great Turo buy. In fact, over the last few months, HP and I've purchased a number of different Hyundais. All of them are covered under this warranty, and one of these cars we've already gotten an engine replaced under this warranty. It was a brand new engine and we got it 100% free. By targeting Hyundais that have this warranty, which many Hyundai owners don't even know exist, we're basically buying a car that has this huge safety net, so regardless of what happens, we'll be covered. Next is Kias. Kias and Hyundais, of course, share most, if not all, of their same components. If you know how to work on a Hyundai, you know how to work on a Kia. And because of that, I definitely like Kias. But I will be honest, I don't like these cars as much as some of the other cars I like to buy. I think that they're a great value. You get a lot of car for the price, but they definitely don't have the same reliability as some of the other brands that I like to buy, like Toyota, for example. But if you're wanting to find something that's a high value, then a Kia is a great option. And lastly is Mazdas. I really love Mazdas. We have 3 of of them. We have one Mazda 3 and two Mazda 2s, and these cars have been really great performers on the Turo platform. I love these cars for a few different reasons. Number one, I think they're just sharp looking cars. They kind of have a Toyota Yaris-esque look, which you guys know I'm a sucker for. But number two is they actually have Ford engines in most of them, which means they're very easy to work on. The parts are readily available and they are also affordable. I think that whenever you look at a value standpoint, Mazdas are one of the best cars out there, specifically Mazdas that are like 2011 to 2013. These cars are very affordable. They get a lot of car for the price, and you have the creature comforts that we look for in a car, like automatic locks and windows, which is oftentimes something you don't get in a Toyota of the same price point. Now, two cars that I would buy any day of the week if I could find them at a decent price are Toyotas and Hondas. I love Toyotas and I really like Hondas as well, but the problem is you just can't find them. They're very hard to come by, and they're even more difficult to come by at a half decent price. So for the time being, until the car market returns to normal, I am no longer looking for these dirt cheap cars that need a lot of work with them in order to get them Turo ready. I am instead willing to pay a little bit higher price for a higher quality vehicle, and once the car market returns to normal and once prices go down, I certainly wouldn't be against buying low-end economy cars once again, but whenever I'm looking at the car market today, I just think my money is better spent buying a little bit more of a higher quality vehicle. Now, the one aspect of my business that has not changed is my firm belief that buying cash is the best route for Turo. Now, I do think that there are some alternative paths that you can pursue if you're somebody that doesn't have a ton of cash available, but I do think that you should be very strategic with how you're buying cars, and I think that cash is definitely the safest route to pursue, especially considering the fact that we are going into a recession, and I think that we're in for a pretty unpredictable next couple of years. But like always, you guys, I wanted to make this video because I realized that it has been a long time since I've made an update on what I'm doing with my own Turo fleet. If you're interested in following along as we buy every single car we purchase, we do document all of these purchases on our vlog channel that's titled Aubrey and HP. I will include a link down to that in the description below. And like always, if you guys have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.